Alright, what is up everyone? My name is George and today I'm gonna do a movie review on Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Now I'm just gonna go over all the fight scenes and sort of explain what's going down. Um so at the beginning we got Ryu versus Sagat. My man Sagat. Alright, so we start out in the fields of truth or whatever. It's just kind of like a random course. And we got Ryu and Sagat skirmishing at first. Now these sort of databases just sort of track the fighters' potential, their muscle, their technique, all these things, right? And they're androids essentially. But that's throughout the film. We're not gonna talk about the film. We're just gonna talk about the fight scenes. So we got Sagat throwing his tiger shot. As everyone knows, his tiger, and he tosses Ryu, about to stomp him, but Ryu, no slouch, that's a semi Tatsu, knocks him out. But Sagat stands right back up. It's not over yet. Remember, this is the king Sagat. This is before anything. We got Ryu still sort of coming up as a fighter. This is after this training. And it seems to be at an advantage here. Sagat's about to take it down. They're in the middle of nowhere. I believe the stage is called the Fields of Truth. It's from Street Fighter 5, just released it. Here we go. Sagat going for the final finisher, the Tiger Knee. But Ryu taps into that Satsui no Hado and gives him the Shoryuken, bro. Giving him his signature chest scar. And then in the game, post Street Fighter 2, even in Street Fighter 2, Sagat carries this big scar across his chest, and that's a reminder that Ryu defeated him with the Shoryu. Now at times like this, when it's just Sagat is down on his knees, but he's not willing to let go of the fight. Ryu still is in this fight. He is calm. He is still calm. He is still collected. Sagat is just sort of lost it. He lost his emotions essentially. And this is just an android taking note of Ryu's potential. As how's it go down. So this is the first fight. We're just gonna go up ahead and get started on the second fight of the movie. And I think there's a bit more fighting in the movie, but I'm just going down the main fights I feel were in the movie. You can find more action scenes here and there, but we're just going down the list from beginning to end. So Ryu gets tossed into this ring for just sort of talking nonsense. It's not really explained. I mean, Ryu's not the kind of guy to be looking for trouble, but trouble just finds him. And little do they know that Ryu's he's Mr. Satsuino himself. All right. He takes out this guy, and Fei Long is in the sidelines and decides to step in for a real fight. Now these are these are two pretty good fighters, and they could have gone either way. But I mean, we all know that the anime did justice here and gave it to the rightful owner of the fight. So we got Fei Long going up against Ryu. Now Fei Long is a skilled fighter. He's essentially based upon Bruce Lee. He's it, man. You see that punch? How he kind of curved it like water, like a snake. Insane. and the way he approached Ryu in the beginning of the fight, just sort of inching. But Ryu is just essentially a monster. You got raw power plus technique on Ryu's side, and Fei Long has got technique and some power too. Here we go, the big point of the fight. Ryu just sort of crippled Fei Long's ankle, and now his arm. Now Fei Long is down in arms here, and Ryu essentially thinks, okay, this fight is going far enough. Let's stop it here. But Fei Long says, hell no. And essentially lets Ryu know that his technique is coming up, which is a fire kick. Now this catches Ryu off guard. I mean, Fei Long's sort of uppercutting the games, and I just had to let that roll. Tatsu as a countermeasure for Fei Long's I'm not sure what to call it. I don't know the name of the move here. We just call it a uppercut kick. And Ryu takes that fight. Now the next fight in the movie involves Ken Masters versus T-Hawk. I don't know his real name. I just call him Tomas Hawk. Ken doesn't really seem to fight in the beginning. At least he doesn't want to fight. But T-Hawk just kind of pushes him and wants to just engage in the street fight. And so they begin to, after some few dialogues here. It is a pretty short fight, and mind you, there is an android checking out their power and their techniques as this fight is going on. So T-Hawk starts out pretty aggressively. You know, he's a grappler, and he's got his his techniques. But Ken Masters just answers with the Shoryuken, and that's gonna put T-Hawk down, and decides not to eliminate T-Hawk with the Hadouken. He sort of just lets it go. Now T-Hawk at this point just wanted to get murdered, but Ken is a better fighter than that. You know, we all know Ken has ethics, and it leaves T-Hawk with that. Now on to the next fight. Now this next fight is it's a pretty good fight, but before that, here's a cameo here for Akuma. There he is, the left side. Now he does not make a fight in this movie because he would obliterate everyone. Here we go. Dalsum versus E Honda. Now E Honda starts with the grapple. It's kind of like a bet match, a bet street fight. Dalsum, known to be the stretchy kind, yoga master. Spins, able to elongate his joints, and has the ability to float. Now, I don't think in the Street Fighter 2 games he's able to float. He's sort of just float on command. Not until Street Fighter 4. But he does have that floating ability, especially with his legs in the torpedo-like motion, which you just saw. Now these are the androids that are just analyzing the fighters and their potential. Now, E Honda at this point, after receiving that kick, is sort of stunned and dazed, and Dalsum is able to put him like in a trance, sort of, with his mystic movements. I mean, he is a yoga master, so I'm sure he can detect another fighter's ki in a sense, and just sort of manipulate it if he has the right concentration. But it so happens that as Ryu stumbles in the fight and is seeing the fight, Dawson's hyper senses detect Ryu's you know, call it ki, uh, and ki or hado, and it's gets distracted, and E Honda goes in, takes the victory. And Dawson doesn't want to fight at this point because he feels he feels another fighter's presence within the surrounding area, which is what he's trying to tell E Honda. I just sort of throws in the towel. You know, I don't wanna fight anymore. You win because I sense this other ki among us, and it sort of distracted him. You know, and it sort of amazed Dawson in a sense. And we go to the next fight of the movie. We got Zangief, protector of the Russian skies, versus uh, the beast Blanca. Excuse me. So the fight starts pretty pretty decently. I mean, the location sort of doesn't make sort of like an underground entertainment show. Now Blanca's very agile and can give Dalsum a good stand and sort of his speed and just his nature. His ability to maneuver is definitely better than Zangief's, but Zangief is a mountain. And just gives Blanca his SVPs, and seems to have Blanca on the road. So Blanca's a monster. You know, he's a beast by nature. Stands up, does a roll, dizzy him, and goes for the bite. Now the bite is iconic. Zangief's trying to pull him off, and it just triggers Blanca. Now this fight has no winner. It's one of the fights where it just is in there, but just ends. Here we are in what I believe would be the fourth fight in the film. One of the biggest fights, I would say. Chun-Li versus Vega. Vega just sort of ambushes Chun-Li, and now Vega's, aside from agile, he's got the claw, and but since they're not in open area, I feel that's where it gave Chun-Li a sort of the atmosphere advantage. I think Vega is a better fighter in open field, and you'll see why. I mean, aside from Chun-Li just being a monster herself, you know, she's able to compete with Vega in strength. In terms of strength, Chun-Li's got monster legs, and Vega relies a bit too much on his claw, which is kind of his downfall in the end. Maybe not in the field. I'm just talking about the game, not in the film. I'm just talking about the game in general. Chun-Li just tosses this couch at a few feet away from her. Lances a spinning bird kick, ends it in a chop, and just and fired up Chun-Li, you know, with his taunts. Now we all know Vega does not like getting his face tainted, and that triggers the fight to just more clawing and Chun-Li essentially just trying to get the advantage again. Now we've seen how Vega is just agile. He's just an acrobat. But Chun-Li is very strong, knocks him down. And there are some traps here and there that Vega plant is waiting for, like his claw. Chun-Li is just a little bit faster in this sense. Kicks. Now Chun-Li is very, I won't say exhausted at this point, but she musters up the finish, lightning legs. Tossing Vega out the apartment. She broke the wall with her kicks and just sending him downhill, down the building. Now this is sort of the intermission, I would say, between the final fight. And it's just Bison's trying to recruit Ken. Ken's not gonna have that. And in order for Bison to essentially take Ken, he forces him into a fight. Now Bison is leagues above Ken. Yeah, Bison's got that psycho power. Ken tries to go for a kick and just gets reflected and tries to use Hadoken, which Bison can just laugh it off and just toss it right back up. Leaving Ken, down for the count. Now all this sums up the final fight, the final fights of the film. Ken is now working for Bison under mind control, and you have the following matchups between Ryu versus Ken, Balrog versus E Honda, and Bison versus Guile. Starts out Guile swing, but Bison's psycho power is beyond anything. Now Guile does go for a sonic flash kick and a sonic boom. Bison's psycho power is just psycho blast is just a bit too much for Guile to handle. It does sort of take Guile out of the fight, and now Bison does not kill Guile because he's overconfident, I would say. And so we move on to Balrog versus E Honda. Now Balrog's he's got this he had the edge on E Honda, and so E Honda just sort of answered back. Now they're two strong fighters, but they just sort of just fall off this cliff here. And by the time they realize it, it's it's kind of like just down the hill. Now this is what I would say the longest fight between in the film, uh, Ken versus Ryu. Now throughout the whole fight, Ryu is just sort of on the defensive side of things because he doesn't see the reason why to hurt or injure his friend, especially during a mind control state. Uh, Ryu just plays it defensively, avoiding and trying to block. But Ken, the fighting master that he is, just under mind control, is just ruthless in his attacks. Now throughout the fight, there are sort of flashbacks. Ken sees as he is fighting Ryu when they would train together, and sort of what makes that is sort of what Ryu is trying to bring back to him. Just remember, you say like, how are you not remembering me, stuff like that. And towards the end, he just kind of says, you know, uh, um, can't have just have a look, and finally just can tap into his mind and see that his brainwash is fading off. And as soon as the brainwash does seem to come apart, Bison just sort of uh, shows up and blasts this Ken to oblivion. And it is now Ryu versus Bison as the second, uh, closest second fight of the film. Now Ryu is probably the candidate to take down Bison, but at this point in time, Bison is again a league or two above Ryu. I mean, Ryu does not have the knowledge and the know-how to have tapped into his um his Dark Ado yet, which was the closest thing. Now, as the fight is going on, Ken is sort of regaining his strength again from mind control, and Ryu is still taking a pummeling until finally Ken comes about and intervenes and brings up a 2v1 between Ryu and Ken. Now this next scene is I enjoy what he says. Bison says something pretty funny.
Yeah! You both seem bound and determined to meet destruction at my hands. So be it. I'll fight you on your own level. Come on!
Now that line just cracks me up every time. So finally, the tag team, the duo Ken and Ryu versus Bison. Now, even at this point, Bison is technically a bit too much for these two. They're kind of amazed just how this they just don't know about this psycho power of his. They are determined. And Ryu is I guess with his increasing I don't know what to say, sort of like his Satsuino is growing. Now Ken gets the Get some pummels. It's tall, and this is the bison. The bison. The bison slide. Um. Finally, Ryu sort of wakes up and lands a few hits on Bison, which is new for Bison because I believe he says it himself. It had been so long since someone tumbled him. He explains how it's been like forever. Now Ryu here just stops him in his tracks, and Ken goes for a Tatsu, Ryu goes for a Shoryu, and they combine their strengths and blast. They combine Hadouken, sending Bison down. And that's gonna do it for this episode on this film. Next one, another one will be showing up. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be catching you all next time. Thanks.